Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Can You Keep a Secret? So, this is a British sitcom show that came out in, when did it come out? It either came out in, I think this year, in 2026. And you can watch it on Paramount Plus in, America and stuff. So I'm scrolling around and I see this show called Can You Keep a Secret? I'm all like, what is this? It looks like a family show or something like that. So I decided to give it a try. And it's a pretty hilarious type show. Like, if you're used to British comedies, then you're used to their style of humor. Personally, for me, I haven't seen that many British comedies. I've seen a lot of British dramas, period pieces type stuff, and cop shows, but not too much of their comedy. But whenever I do, it's pretty freaking hilarious and stuff. They have a very unique style to them that's very different than American comedies. It's very fresh and innovative and stuff. And it's just a nice change of pace, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how they do it, but they do it, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times when they act, you'll have different types of comedic styles all in the same show. Whereas it is in America, you'll probably have one or two different tones and stuff. So this show was created by Simon Mayhew-Archer, and it stars that of Don French and that of Mark Heap. And so what it's about is a show where the husband is presumed dead. But it turns out that he's actually not dead. He was just really knocked out of sleep from his medication because he has Parkinson's. And so when they thought he was dead, she collected the insurance money and doesn't want to give it back. Now, this is loosely based off a true story with some man, and I'm not sure the context of what happened to him and everything because I didn't bother to read it. But it's loosely based off that, and of course, it's named by different characters. And in watching this show, I noticed something. There's this one reviewer who's always talking about the Scream movies. And when he was showing photos of Scream 7 before it came out, he was talking about how he admires American houses because they're so much different than British houses. I'm all like, what the heck is he talking about? Because remember, I only watched period pieces and that of cop shows. So you really don't get to see modern houses that much. And some of the houses I have seen in Irish shows and that of British, they are very different. A lot of apartments next to each other, houses that look kind of like a cottage type house. It's always nice to get a different perspective of other things around the world. The humor in this is pretty subtle for the most part, but then it does get kind of a little outrageous here and there. And then the unique style of things you wouldn't expect really to be funny, they make it funny because you don't expect them to say what they're saying, and it's kind of outrageous and stuff. Like when the wife is trying to wake her husband up, she's all wake up, and she's like, hey, here are the girls, and she grabs her boobs and she puts it in his mouth, talking about yum yum yum. What the world? And that's because Dawn French is always making jokes about her large boobs and everything. And so, but they also make a recurring gag over Parkinson's because, the father has Parkinson's. And I'm just kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe they're constantly making this joke. But it's the way the husband says it that just makes it funny. I'm like, my God, they're making fun of Parkinson's and everything. Because like the wife is pretty like kind of like the one who wears the pants in the family. She's always taking charge. The husband is more silly, goofy, and a little dumb in the head. And the son is just always like a worry work and everything and complaining. And plus he takes antidepressants. And so like the wife, you know, she's all like shouting at the husband and getting mad at him. He's all like, but I can't help it. I have Parkinson's. And so she's just like, just laying it into him and calling him like a twat and everything. And then he just says it in just the softest, like, you know, kind-hearted, like sad, guppy fish kind of way. Like, but I have Parkinson's. I'm just like, no, I shouldn't be laughing at that. But I am. I'm just like, no. So it reminds me very much of 90s humor, you know, when it was very like raunchy and stuff like that. Now, yeah, sometimes the wife, you know, she did use, what was it? A homophobic slur. I'm just like, I ain't heard that since the 80s and everything. It's basically when you call a man soft, but you use a different word and everything. It starts with an S and ends with a Y. And I'm just kind of like, you know, I ain't heard that since the 80s. It's not really funny no more to say stuff like that. I don't understand why people still find that like humorous and everything. I guess that's their brand of comedy with the 2 stars and everything or whatnot. But like, it's just, some things are just kind of like, why, you know what I'm saying? But back to like the you don't expect it type humor. Like there's this older woman, right? And it's the way they say it when they hit their cues and the pause break, which is just excellent comedy, where we don't know this character's name. We've only heard the first name, Pamela. But then they finally decide to say her full name. And her full name, and this is an older woman, like in her 80s or something like that. And her name is Pamela Anderson. Like, that's her legit name. And then they pause so you can, like, take it in. And you're like, hold up now. And then what makes it even funnier, there's one character, she's always giggling every time you say the Pamela Anderson. She's like, I just can't believe that's her name. And stuff. And I love there's no laugh track. I am so sick and tired of laugh tracks. Thank God this show doesn't have laugh tracks. But also with the premise of like this show, she inherited all this money and she's being blackmailed because somebody found out her husband is still alive. And so they kind of set you on a wild goose chase, making you think it's this one person, which technically it is, but there's 2 blackmailers. But then all of a sudden, there's only like one sole blackmailer. And the cast list ain't that big. So it's kind of like, okay, it has to be one of these people, right? And so I'm thinking, wait, we already know this one older man knows that the dude is alive. Like he was literally just jogging. He saw this dude and he's like, oh, hey man, what's up? And he knows that the dude's alive because the husband is just so weird, man. He thinks he's like a master of disguise. He'll dress in lederhosen and pretend like he's Swedish, or he'll dress in like with a fox hat on, or no, a fox mask and like claws, and he's just so wacky in the head, but people, of course, always recognize him and stuff. And so they start leading on another goose chase. You start to think, okay, is this person who's blackmailing them, especially because of the video footage. But then I'm all like, hold up. In the last episode, well, okay, the second to last episode, that person had a heart attack and presumed dead. And I say presume only because the medical person, the examiner, always thinks people are dead, but they're actually alive because she's horrible at her job. And I'm like, well, hold up. So we still think this person is dead from the heart attack. There's no way they're gonna kill off the blackmailer in the first minute of the last episode. It has to be somebody else. But who could it be? There's only two more characters left. I'm all like, no, no, it can't be. Something's gotta be up with her. And it is. I just couldn't believe it was that person who, like, doing the blackmailing, and it's just kind of hilarious because she's an old woman and stuff. But yeah, so okay, so I'm gonna get into some characters now. Oh, and of course, if you're in like Britain or whatever, you can watch this on BBC One, I believe. But yeah, if you're in America or any other place, it's on Paramount Plus, which I'm actually shocked and surprised. This isn't on BritBox, but BritBox really doesn't do comedies that much. Mostly a whole lot of cop dramas and a whole lot of period pieces. Okay, so Debbie, played by Dawn French. And I remember when I kept watching this, because at first I didn't recognize some of the people, but then later on I kind of did, but not really. I'm just like, why? Why does she seem so familiar to me for? Like, I'm pretty sure I've never seen this woman before. But then I looked her up, and I'm like, oh, it's her. So one of the first things I ever saw her in was the Chronicles of Narnia, The Witch, the Wardrobe, and the Lion, where she voiced Mrs. Beaver. I'm like, oh, that's where I know that voice from. But then she was in something else I saw, and I can't remember what that was. But then she was the fat lady in the third Harry Potter movie, the comedic one, talking about listen to the sound of my voice. And then she makes that loud singing noise and then she's trying to break the glass, but then she just breaks it. I can't believe that's her because that's been over like what 20 years ago, and she's like gotten older and her hair is gray now, and because she has a very unique hairstyle. This actress is normally like a long bob, but like full French, like not French, but like bangs that are like full on. You know what I'm saying? I forget what they call it, fringe or something like that. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, yeah. So I do recognize her and stuff. I didn't know she was a comedian. Apparently she's been like doing this for decades and stuff, and working alongside her ex-husband back in the day, which I didn't know she was down for the brown, or at least she used to be. See, man, I'm telling you, once you go black, you're not supposed to go back. It should be law. But after marrying him for 20 years, she went back to white. So I'm like, oh my god, no, man, it's the law. It's in the phrase. But yeah, it's cool that she married a black dude, has a biracial daughter, but sadly she says she experienced racism for many years because she was married to a black man, because British people are the original racists of like America and stuff. And so like I'm not surprised and everything. And so she's been doing comedy shows and touring for and stand-up comedy for like many decades. I think they say she's like a character actress. So as I'm looking at her bio and everything on Wikipedia, I see the word politics on the left side. I'm like, crap, what did she do or say? Well, like sometimes just keep your mouth shut. Like, I get it, she's old school. They like to go there with their comedy, but not everything should be made into a joke. She really put her foot in it. So she talked about, and I hate bringing this up, the Hamas Palestine war and everything. And no, I messed that up. The what is it? No, I messed that up. Is the war has like three different names. Okay, originally it was the Hamas-Israel War, then it was later called the Palestine-Israel War, and then later now is mostly was just called the Gaza-Israel War. I'm not sure what she said because it was a video she posted on Instagram, but it has now been deleted, and she got some swift backlash and she deleted it, and she issued out like a really huge apology saying that, you know, her the joke or video or mockery or whatever it was supposed to be on both sides of, like, I guess like their leadership, but her video sounded more one-sided, so that pissed a lot of people off. You know, that's like fighting words when it comes to like that war and everything. And so I'm still not sure what she said in the video because, like I said before, it's been taken down and stuff. But I was strolling on her page to see if I can find like the apology. I don't know if it was in a reel or what, but I landed on one of her pictures, and whew, people are still mad about that. One dude commented and just started screaming at her. So, yeah, just because you're a comedian doesn't mean you have to comment on everything and make a joke about everything, you know? But back to this character. So, Debbie and everything. Housewife, you know, retired, living at home. She mostly likes to wear really long nightgowns. Doesn't matter where she goes. She's in that particular age in her life where she's a grandma and just like, whatever, I'll go outside and dress like whatever, you know what I'm saying? And she's very strict and very stern and very comedic and stuff. And so when she thought her husband was dead, she was devastated. She went to the funeral home, went to go pay her respects to like well, I know. I think she knew then her husband was alive, so she went there to go tell the people, and they're all like, "Oh, you know, your husband's here." And she's kind of like, "What?" So she sees this other body because the funeral home director got the bodies mixed up, and so she had to like kiss it on the mouth and, you know, stuff like that. But then she realized, hey, all this money and I don't have to give it back. And her reasoning was because they pay all this money for the insurance company, and then the insurance company, once you get like some type of bad disease or illness, they don't want to pay for it. So her husband has Parkinson's. The insurance company doesn't want to pay for his medical expenses, and they're in debt. So she's like, screw the insurance company, she's gonna do her. But the interesting thing with the money is what she does with it. She doesn't really spend it on herself. She spends it on other people who really needs it. Like her grandkids, somebody has like sleep apnea or something like that. So she paid for them to go to some type of sleep counselor or some crap like that. And she gives it to people who really, really, really need it medically and everything. And it's kind of like a Robin Hood type thing, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like really interesting and fascinating. But of course, she had to keep this a ruse and lie to her own son and grandkids. And her grandson is married to that of a cop. So it makes it very, very difficult. And when she is later found out, she is willing to turn herself in and stuff like that. But of course, she's being blackmailed. And the way when she's being blackmailed is kind of like every time somebody leaves her a note, it gets like tossed around. Like either it's in the mail, so they just toss the mail in the air and it gets shuffled with the rest of the mail. It gets thrown in the garbage. It's on the car and the wipers like knock it off. But then they finally get the message. So she's doing some detective work and stuff like that to figure out, you know, who is like blackmailing her. William is her husband with Parkinson's, and the dude is as goofy as they can come. He loves dressing up as like a fox and like, trying to scare people. It gives him something to do because he has nothing to do, and he loves to scare his son once his son knows that he's alive. There's a fox that keeps coming in the yard, and he fills it with his own urine and stuff like that, because apparently they hate human urine. But then when one of the grandkids got a hold of it, they started to spray like the grandmother with the urine and stuff. And so he's just a sweet, nice, like slap happy type man. You know what I'm saying? And but it's weird because like they thought he was dead because his Parkinson medicine really knocks him out. But of course, because people think he's dead, he can't, refill his prescription and everything. So he tries to like steal it from like the store, and that doesn't work. And so his daughter-in-law, who's a cop, she knows a person who sells drugs and is hopefully trying to get him some Parkinson type drug supplement. But it's the way they do the drug thing is funny because he comes in the car with them. And he's all like, all right, look, I need to see if this is the real thing. So I need to take a pill. And when I do, I might throw up. But I tell you this right here, right now, it's going to knock me out of sleep. So about an hour or two, we'll be good. And then y'all can go about your business. I'm all like, this is not how you sell drugs to people. You don't sleep in the drug dealer's car. But also with the problem with him, he doesn't want to stay home. He wants to go about and stretch his legs, but he can't. He also loves chocolate and not supposed to eat it and always trying to get other people to get him some chocolate. Or he'll just go out and get it himself in his master of disguise thing. So one night, the wife is in the car, the cop is in the car, and like he's just walking up to the car at the gas station and just gets in the car, and now like, you idiot, you're supposed to be home, because nobody's supposed to know you're alive. But he's tired of staying in like that little, I don't know what it's called. It looks like a little closet that's a cupboard that I think Harry Potter was in that movie. Why doesn't he just stay in the room upstairs? Cause like nobody's gonna go in the bedroom. But the wife leaves all the windows wide open with no curtains so people can see in the house. But they live out in the middle of nowhere, so nobody really comes up. I think the son's name is Henry. He's kind of like a slug of a guy. When he found out his dad was dead for 2 months, he got super depressed, talked to a counselor, is on antidepressants. He never has no energy. He tells his mom, I can't believe you made me think my dad was dead for 2 months. Like, this really messed with my mind and everything. And he's all like, I take antidepressants now and go see a counselor. She's all like, son, normal families don't take antidepressants and see a counselor. Only broken families do. Like, oh my God. So he has to keep this alive, but he doesn't want to because his wife is a cop. So he always wants to do the right thing. But sadly, he is forced to go along with whatever scam they are doing. And he even has to try to get his dad chocolate and like, this and that. And lied to a bunch of people when his mom had to sneak into a person's house because she suspected this person is blackmailing them. He had to come up with this big old lie, which is really hard for him and everything. His wife, Naha, I believe you say, is like a cop, a PC cop and everything. She's a really sweet, nice person who's pretty comedic here and there and just loves the father-in-law. And so she is pretty pissed off when she finds out this dude is alive. And talking about she can't be involved in this and that because she's a cop and she's going to have to bust like, Debbie and everything. But then when she does and she's driving her, she passes the police station because she just doesn't have the heart to do it. Especially when she finds out what Debbie's been doing with like the money. But she does say eventually y'all going to have to like, do the right thing or just something, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is now the blackmailer. So she's all like, crap. But then she's like, well, hold up. I'm not linked to this, so I can't be like found out. But the problem is the blackmailer has pictures and pictures of them all in the house and touching money and stuff like that. So she is screwed. When they think they know who's blackmailing them, they see like a video of Pamela Anderson putting the blackmail note in her bag. So they're like, okay, we're gonna bust her. We're gonna put the money in like a garbage bin or whatever, and do like a little stakeout. So she waits for the person to pick up the money because there's like a tracker in there. And when she pulls the person over, it's the funeral home director. And he's shocked, he's scared, all this and that. Well, Debbie later confronts the dude, and he later confesses that he knows for a fact that her husband is alive because after she went and kissed the body and everything, he saw a newspaper of her real husband and her. So he knew she was lying and he wanted the money. But of course, Debbie became sympathetic because of his problem and gave him some of the money so he can start his life over and stuff. So it's not him. But why exactly did Pamela Anderson put the money in the bag? Not the money, but the note in like the coat pocket and stuff. When they was at like bingo or something like that, that's when she read the blackmail note. So Debbie goes to her house snooping around and she finds like a duplicate letter and stuff like that, making people assume it's like, Pamela Anderson. But Debbie has this stupid face mask thing on. It makes her look like some kind of alien. And it scared the bejesus out of freaking Pamela Anderson when she had a heart attack. So I'm like, okay, this is the last episode. She had a heart attack in the first minute. But then it's revealed she's been poisoned. It's like, well, who the heck is poisoning Pamela Anderson? It can only be two other people. One of Debbie's friends. I'm like, oh, it has to be this person. But how? She's supposed to be blind and everything. I'm all like, that would be the greatest twist because, she's supposed to be blind, but she's not really. So Jean, she is the blackmailer and everything. It turns out she's not blind. She's been scamming people. She's actually just double-sided. So because of that, William assumes she's blind. So whenever she's at his house, he's always walking about doing stuff in front of her, thinking she can't see. So her being a little scam artist that she is, she's like, hey, I can make some even more money off this. So she's the blackmailer, and boy, she's ruthless because she will poison you with some type of sleeping drug and stuff like that. She knocks the friend out, been poisoning Pamela Anderson. I guess she stays with her. Also, she planned on killing Pamela Anderson because that's a weird thing to say. But anyway, she had Pamela change over her will to like her. She also had Pamela to give her the blackmail note because Pamela had no idea what it was and just assumed that what's her name needed her to give her a note for something. And so she planned on just taking a lot of money and killing whoever it is she got killed just to get it. So she knocks out the son, knocks out the husband with the thing they drunk or ate or something like that. And so when she confronted them and everything, I think the son knocked her out in the head, and that's like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking to myself, well, this seems to be a one and done season. So how did it get renewed for a second season? And then there is the ending. Remember I said the medical person is horrible at her job? Well, she's also a germaphobe. So am I. And so she touched something and freaked out and needed to wash her hands, but couldn't find anything to wash her hands with. She opened up the cupboard closet thing, and there she finds Debbie, William, and Henry just all sitting there having a drink and crap like that. And Debbie's all like, can you keep a secret? So it now makes you wonder, like, how the medical person is gonna play into this and why she goes along with it, and is she possibly gonna blackmail anybody? Personally, for me, it was like a one and done season, but I am intrigued to see what happens. So yeah, like this was a pretty funny show. Like it has its subtle humor, it has its raunchy humor, it has its wacky humor, it has its offensive humor and stuff like that. So it has a little something of everything in there for like whatever type of humor like you like. You know what I'm saying? And I still just can't believe like dude's supposed to be dead, stay in his house. That's all he has to do. But the man wants to chase around foxes, get chocolate, get his medication because he needs it, you know what I'm saying? And just like all kinds of other stuff. So I hope the second season's more funny, bigger laughs, bigger jokes and everything. Cause sometimes a lot of these like British shows, they will I noticed some of the ones I watch will get canceled after 2 seasons or so. And I actually remember now who Mark Heap is from. I saw a show years ago called Miranda, and he had a guest starring on that, but I don't recognize his face because that was so many years ago and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.